What is up, guys and girls? It's Will here, also known as Nerdy on YouTube. I have a few different YouTube channels, but this one is dedicated to programming, web design, and related topics. So today I'm going to be building an in-game menu for this game that I started yesterday. And I posted a video that goes over how to actually create an object in HTML5 canvas, animate it, and then implement some collision detection to make it bounce off of the edges of the game. So you'll be able to see how all the variables are set up to keep track of the position and sizing and color, and the actual game function which draws the object on the canvas, and the logic for the collision detection to make it bounce off the edges, as well as the intervals to set up the game to auto refresh, and in this case it's a rate of 60 frames per second. So I did make a few changes just to optimize the code since the video, but it's nothing major. But essentially all I really did was convert these two functions from having their own separate intervals to basically use one function called game_FPS, and it has one interval here. If you watch the video, you should be able to understand how to do that, but essentially I just created one function that includes these two smaller functions, and that updates instead of making both of these update independently. So it's a little bit more efficient. So what we're going to do is create a menu on the bottom of this screen and allow people to click a button on the menu. And for now, we will just be doing one single menu called options. And so the first thing that we need to do is actually create the menu. And I'm going to show you some possible errors that we can have so you understand how it actually works. But the first thing we need to do is actually just set up our menu. So I'm going to create some variables, and we're going to have a menu height of 25 pixels. We're going to have a menu width that is equal to the game width, and that basically just makes sure it goes all the way across the screen. We're going to have a menu BG, and we'll call it green for green color, and the menu color will be white, and that's going to let the text be white. We'll do menu font size, and we'll do 15 pixels there, and I think that should be it for now. So now what we're going to do is actually create that menu bar and show you the first possible bug we can have with the game here. So CTX fill style, and again, if you don't understand this, you need to watch the first video, because we're creating an object and that tutorial covers how to do that. So the menu BG is our variable for the background color, and we're going to do fill rect equals, or sorry, parentheses, and we'll do our starting position. So it's going to start off on the left, and on the bottom it's going to be game.height minus menu height. And so what that does is basically set it up right here. Sorry, I had to cough real quick. So if we started it off at the game height, it would appear off of the screen. We wouldn't be able to see it. So we subtract the menu height so that it starts right around here at the x-axis 0 position, and it goes for the entire width. So let's set that up here. The menu width and menu height. So you can see that we have that here. If we basically change the menu width to be divided by 2, then it would obviously be half of the screen size. But I don't want to do that. I want to show you the first bug. So let's watch our purple square here. The purple square is going to basically extend past the menu, and we have to make sure that that updates. So the reason that that's doing that is because in all of our logic down here for the height, we're using game.height, which is the size of the overall canvas. So what I want to do is actually replace this, and I'm going to do game height as a separate variable instead of using the canvas height. And so what I'll do now is just set up that variable up here, and we'll say game height equals game.height, which is the canvas height, minus our menu height. And actually I'm going to have to put that down below after we declare the menu height here. So now we have that, and if we update our game, we should see that it bounces off the top of the menu instead of disappearing below it or underneath it. And there we go. Now it's bouncing off the menu, and we are perfectly good on that. We could also create some other things. We could create like a black line, for example, to go on the top of our menu if we wanted to make it more distinguished. But this video and the last video is not so much about the design and fanciness. It's about actually creating the elements and a functioning game. So this tutorial series will go over all of this gradually, and by the end we'll have a very functioning game. So now what we want to do is actually set up the options text. So what we're going to do is ctx.font equals, and we're going to start it off with bold, and we have to do a space here because essentially what it would look like is something like this. Okay? But because our pixel size for the menu font size is a variable, we need to end the quotes, do a plus sign, include the variable, a plus sign, and then the quotations. And there has to be a space in between all of these and that. So to make it more clear, I will just make it static. I won't even include the variable. Sorry, this will be 15. And we'll just get rid of menu font size here. So that way it's a little bit easier to see. And you can also do commas here. So if Times New Roman wasn't available, it would default to Arial. But that's not really too important for this. It's obviously not showing up yet. We now need to add a color to it. And so our ctx.fill style for this will be menu color. So that's white up here. And now we need to place it. So we're basically going to do fill text. And our text is going to say options, comma. And then we need to basically set how far away from the x-axis it is. So if I do 0, it's going to be right up across the edge. And I don't want that. I want it to be about 10 pixels from the left. And now what we're going to do is basically have it start off at our game height. And the game height is the start of the menu. But you can see that it's definitely a little bit too high. So what I could do is do game height plus, let's say 15 pixels. And that should shove it down a little bit into there. I think we have a little bit more room. So let's do 18 pixels. And it's a little bit down. Still not too happy with that. There we go. I think that's perfect. But if we click our options, nothing's actually going to happen. So we need to figure out how we can actually make that clickable. And fortunately, that is actually quite simple. So I'm going to move this down right here after this function. And I'm basically going to do a document.onMouse down equals, and we'll say menu or check click. We'll do a check click function. So now we'll do function check click, and we'll just do console log hello. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to track the event, or E for event. And that's basically going to allow us to see where they clicked on the screen. So I can do E client X and E.client Y. So when I click anywhere, it tells me exactly where they clicked. So in this case, I can click options. And you can see here that basically the option starts at 10 pixels from the left and about 480 pixels. So 10 or around there and around 480. So what I can do is optimize this a little bit. Instead of the game height plus 16, I'm actually going to default to game.height minus, I'll say 10. Do minus 8. Oops. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do is actually see if they clicked on our options. And so this is going to be optimized over time, but for the sake of actually making this tutorial, let's just see if we can create a basic if statement to see if options is clicked. So we're going to say if e.clientX is over 10, which is where our game starts, or our option starts, and e.clientX is less than, we'll say, I think, what did we say it was at? what's about 70 or so. So I messed up when I was talking before. The x-axis is about 70. And e.clientY is greater than, we'll say, game.height minus menu height, and e.clientY is less than hold on. We want to say, sorry, if e.clientY is greater than game height, so it's basically not in our game region, it's inside of our menu, and e.clientY is less than game.height, meaning it's not anywhere like underneath the menu. That's not really possible, but because we're doing the document one here, you see, I can click outside of the game, it still tracks where I clicked. Then we can say console log clicked options. So let's just make sure it's all correct. If I click here, it's not telling us to click it. If I click the options though, so let's just make it a little bit wider. Now we can see we're really clicking the options here. So now we know what to do, or how to get to the options screen, because we're allowing them to click it. But we're not actually doing anything. But what we're going to do is actually put a function here. Let me get rid of this. We don't need the console log anymore for the original click. We're going to say clicked options, and we're going to run a function that is called clicked, or click menu, or show menu. Doesn't really matter what we call it. And let's create that function, show menu. So the first thing we need to do when we show the menu is actually pause our game. And so we have this variable down here. It says var refresh equals set interval game FPS for the function at a rate of 60 frames per second. And so what we want to do is clear interval refresh. And we're basically saying, nope, we are not having that as an interval anymore. So if I click anywhere here, nothing happens, but if I click options, it pauses the game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that there needs to be a state of the game, whether it's running or not. So I'll say game running equals false. And when our game func actually starts, we say game running equals true. So here we can now say if game running equals true with two equal signs, we want to pause it, else we basically want to start the interval. And so we can just get rid of that, put this here, and that's going to allow us to run the game again. And here we'll just store the refresh variable as nothing, just to keep it as a global variable. So now we have the game running, we press options, it stops, we start it again, we're having trouble. Let me just see why that's not. Oh, I need to game running equals false. Just reset the variable to true. Or false, I mean. So now, pause it. This is great. You're seeing a potential bug. Refresh set interval, game FPS, moving square, game function. Get rid of that. I'm actually going to set game running equal true. So I've definitely created a weird loop here. I apologize. let me just try something real quick. Let's move this down there. I'm not quite sure on what I've done here. We'll just do start game. Alright, hold on a sec. And then we'll start it by default. So I've messed up a little bit. Game running. False. Let me just console log game running here. I have an issue with my mouse double clicking things, so I'm wondering if I'm actually double clicking it by accident with my mouse. Maybe I do need to just keep this as the var like it was before. Var. Let's get rid of that. And let's reset the interval. Pause it. That's so annoying. Let me hard refresh. So for some reason, clear interval is not working on our refresh variable here. If I just change this to so our pausing is not working. I think that's what it was. So there we go. I'm sorry guys. I set it to false. But then I see what happened. So let me just control Z some of that. I'm going to explain what happened in a second. This can all stay. Okay. When I do the start game function here, okay. I'll show you in a sec. If I do the start game function here, and I set the refresh variable, everything's going to be fine. But the game running needed to be false because I don't actually set it to be true here. So it was throwing off the if statement here a bit. So let me just check that out. That's fine. Game running equals true when we start the game. Okay, and now everything's working fine. So we click options, it pauses. We click options again, it starts. And so basically, we're going to make another function or another button that allows us to close out of the menu. But we have the show menu. We've paused it or we've started it. And now what we're going to do is actually create our menu. So we will do fill ctx fill style equals menu bg ctx fill rect, and basically what we're going to do is now set up our menu to be a square in the middle of the screen. So for the x-axis, I'm basically going to have to offset it by a good amount here. So I think what I want to do is make it so that a third of the screen is on either side. So we're going to do game.width divided by 3 for where it starts. Then the height, I'm going to do a third of the screen on either the top and the bottom as well. So the y will be game height divided by 3, our separate variable here for the region, so we don't include the menu in that dimension. And then the width is going to be game.width divided by 3, and then the height is going to be game height divided by 3. Let's just see what happens. Options. As you can see, there's now a menu being put on there. And I think what I'll do is actually make it a fourth padding. And then this is going to be divided by 2, so we have 2/4 for the width and the height, and this box should be a little bigger. And it is. So that's pretty cool. Now what we're going to do is create our first menu option. And basically, we are going to say that the top of the menu is going to be ctx.font equals, say, bold, 15 pixels, and we'll just use Arial for this. ctx.fill style is going to be white, and then our ctx fill text is going to say menu, and it's going to start at the start of the menu on the left plus 15 pixels, and it's going to start from the top at this here plus 15 pixels. So we'll have a nice little padding there, and it should appear right around here. So now click options, and we have the menu text there. I'm just going to pop it down a little bit. Let's make this 25. And now it's right there. So that's kind of cool. Now what we'll do actually is we are going to say that the height here is going to be divided by 8. Make this a small little rectangle here. Maybe a little bit more. 10. Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll just pop this down to 30. Because now what we're going to do is create another menu box. And so we'll just take this here, make that again. And this is going to be divided by 2. It's going to be a big box. And it's going to be kind of a light gray. Or we'll say white, actually. Make it stand out. And that also needs to just go behind our menu top part. So here we go. Now we have a menu with a white box there. Okay. And now I'm just going to create a very basic interface. And what we're going to do is just use some text here and allow the user to click it. So what we want to do is, in fact, create a black text, or we can do, black. And it will say, what color should our square be? As you can see, it's overlapping the menu text, so we need to basically pop that down on the y-axis a bit. We'll say plus 50. And for math's sake, let me just add some parentheses here and here. Just so that there's no hidden errors with that. Because the order of operations does matter. So hopefully we did not mess it up. 97. Oh, plus. And plus. There we go. Options. Okay, so we just need to pop this down a little bit more. So we'll say plus 75. What color should our square be? And now what we're going to do is just create a few different options. Let me just see. I think if I get rid of that, yeah, it will maintain this bold here from above. So we don't even need that. Now what we can do is just get rid of that. And we'll do purple. We'll say purple. And we'll just go plus 100 here to make it further down. And now on this one, we'll say red. We'll say plus 125. And we'll actually just use black here. And we'll say black. And this will be at plus 150. So with any luck, we've made a nice little options menu. And this needs to say red. Okay. So we have purple, red, or black. And now what we're going to do is allow them to click one of those options. And so this is going to be very similar to how we detected if we're showing the menu or not. So on our function show menu, we are basically going to use our check click function here. And we're going to say, and we'll say menu shown equals true. And over here, we'll just add that variable as false by default. So now we're basically saying that we only want to trigger or look for the menu being opened or closed if the menu is not open. So menu shown equals false. Or you know what, we can just keep it. We'll allow the options to toggle it all the time. So unexpected token at 39. So I need to get rid of that. Save changes. We click options. Sorry for the double click here. And if I click options again, it goes away. And I can also create an X here, which I'll do to close the menu as well. But clicking options will always work. So now what we want to do is if menu shown is true, then we want to look for some of the colors. So if e.clientX and e.clientX, I'm going to put in the values in a sec, but first we want to just set up these basic if statements. And we'll use our first one here, purple shown. And then what we'll do is just copy this, else if, and we'll use red and black. And instead of shown, we'll say clicked. Okay, so now what we need to do is actually take our values here, and I'll clean this up in a sec, but I just want to be able to look at them. So I'll use a comment tag there, and let's just get rid of some of these. We don't need to actually keep track of that. We're just looking at the heights and all of that. Okay, so we've got black, purple, and red. So for our black one, it basically starts at this number here. So e.clientX is greater than that, and it's less than, we'll say plus 70 pixels. Whoops. And eClient Y is over where it starts, and less than, we'll say, plus 15 pixels. That's our size, I believe, right? Font size? Yeah. In fact, we can just add a little bit of padding there. So we'll say 20. Now let's just see what happens here. Unexpected token at line 44. So let's just comment these out real quick, so we don't have to worry about that right now. We'll just check our black, and we'll say console log black clicked. Okay. Reload. Options. Black is clicked. But if we click around it, it's not clicked. If we click red, black is not clicked. If we click purple, black is not clicked. So now what we want to do is basically just do the same thing for all of those, so we can actually get those in. So let's do purple now. So we're going to x-axis in for the start, and it's less than, so we'll just change this to 85. Change this to 85. Okay. So the red click here needs to be a Y of plus 125 and 125 plus 15, so it's going to be 140. This also needs to be plus 15 there, so that's going to be 165. Okay, and our purple here, take this here, less than, plus 85. And again, we could put these on variables to make them a little bit more, you know, staticky in a way, instead of recalculating every time. But eClient Y for this one, what is this, purple? It's plus 100 on that, and less than 115. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just make these all into console logs. And we should be able to get an accurate picture of what's clicked. So we click our menu, purple, red, black. Okay, perfect. Now what we want to do though is we actually want to change our square color. And so what we're going to do is square color equals, and for this, I'll click red, black. We'll move down here to this, that, there, and there. And now we can change the color. So now I want to change it to red. Oh, sorry, I need to have the quotations. My bad. Add some quotations around those. And we are golden. Red. Now it's red. Now it's purple again. Now it's black. So this was a very, very kind of annoying way to do it, because you have to get all the pixel sizes and dimensions right to actually detect the clicks. But there is one other way that we can do this. And so this is going to be the end of the tutorial. It's a long video, but I am going to show you how we could actually do that. But before, I guess we'll just do one last thing here. And that's going to be to create the X button at the corner of the menu, just to make it a little bit more cooler. Show menu equals false. Just set that before we actually start the game. Okay. And so on the menu, we want to just create that little box on the top right there. So that's going to be CTX fill style. We'll just do, in fact, you know what? We'll just create an X color for text. I mean, fill text is going to be the letter X, and it's basically going to start at our game width divided by 4 plus our menu width, which is game.width divided by 2 plus minus, we'll say 15 pixels. So let's all wrap this in parentheses here. Okay. And then our y-axis is going to be, geez. Oh, did I do that right? Game width divided by 4 plus game width divided by 2 minus 15. The y-axis will be game height divided by 4 plus, we'll say 10 pixels. Give it a little padding. We'll say 25 pixels, sorry. And that should be it. Definitely. There we go. Okay. So now click. Game width is not defined. Where did I do that? Oh, this needs to be game dot width. Sorry. All right. Options. Now we have an X there. I just want to make it a little bit to the left. We'll do minus 25 there. Now we have an X. Okay, so now what we can do is now add these dimensions to see if the X is actually clicked. And we'll just move it down just a little bit. 30. Too high. 27. That's good. Okay. So let's take this, and now we'll detect if the X is clicked. I'll just put that there so I can keep track of it. And I'll say else if e.clientX is greater than, and we're going to do that. So we're basically just seeing if it's on the X, like the actual X button. So the X-axis starts right here. So we'll just add a little bit of padding to the X here so we can detect to the left side of it. And e.clientX is less than, it's going to be basically this, but we want to detect the length of it, so it's 15 pixels, so we'll say minus 20. And e.clientY is greater than that. And again, we'll just give it a little bit of padding. And e.clientY is less than, and we'll just use our menu kind of start here to the end. So for the menu, let's see, we start at the x-axis plus this. Okay. And so now we have the dimensions of that. So let's save those changes. Else if client is greater than that. Show menu is not a function. So let's just see. Oh, if I get rid of this, is this arrow in it? Aha. So I just need to change the show menu variable to menu shown because it lined up basically with the function name. Purple, red, black. And now console log X clicked. And let's see if that worked. So the X is a little bit too far off. I've definitely messed that up there. So we're saying if it's greater than game width divided by 4, which is the start of it, plus the width minus 30. Let's change that back to 25. Okay, x-axis. That's that. And it's less than the width of the menu. There we go. The X is clicked. Okay. And so then we can just do show menu, which will hide the menu. And there we go. So we have our options. We can change it to red. And what I'll do actually with this is just actually start the game again when they click a color. Because there's only one menu option. We don't have to do anything else. So now we have a very basic menu. So I apologize for the little bug there. I had an issue, but I am doing this live. And I think it's important to show you guys actually how the code is written and debugged. I've been told in the past that it helps people. So I hope it helped you. I hope that wasn't too much of a nuisance. But we are actually going on for a while. So what I want to do now is basically just create that same menu, but do it very fast because it's quite quick if you do it a different way. And so what you can do is you can create a div underneath your canvas, and we'll just call this menu. And then we'll create a button, and we'll call this menu button. And the style, we'll just do padding 10px, background color will be green, the color will be white, the font size will be 1.2 em, and we'll just put options in there. So we'll save our options. So now we have this button here. And basically now what we're going to do is create another div, and it's going to be div ID options. And we're going to say what color should the square be. And then under here, we're going to create more buttons. And we'll say purple button. And we'll just take all of this actually. We'll say purple here. Or sorry. Purple here for the background color. And we'll do purple button there. and we'll say purple. And then let's just make a red and a black one. So change the ID here, red, black. We'll say black, red, red, black. Okay, easy. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give all of our buttons the ability, and the menu button here, the ability to manipulate our game. And so for the options, we'll say style equals display none. And so the first thing we'll do is we'll actually create the on action buttons for these. So I'll have to delete these in a sec, but basically we're going to start off with the menu buttons. So we're going to say document.getElement by ID menu button dot on mouse down equals function, or we'll say menu button click, and then we'll say function menu button click we'll just create one function. There we go. Console log menu clicked, and then we want to do document get element by ID, and we're going to say options dot style dot display equals block. And so we're going to show our options when the menu button is clicked. So now we click the options and we see these options here. So let me just real quick create a break tag here, and then on this logic right here we want to say if, or first off we'll create a variable. We'll say let CSS equal this, and let's just make sure that works. Options, there we go. And then we say if css.display equals none, then we show the display, else we want to hide it. And so you'll see that right now. So options, if I click it again, it hides. So now what we want to do is just basically create our functions here for the purple, red, and black buttons. So now we'll do the same for each. Document.get element by ID, and there are more efficient ways to do this by basically passing an attribute from the button, so we can have one function for all of them if we wanted to. But just to show you, we can do on mouse down equals function, and now what we're going to do is actually manipulate our square color. Okay, and then we're going to do document.getElement by ID menu, or sorry, options dot style dot display equals none. So we'll hide our menu when they click one. And so this one will be purple, this one will be red, and this one will be black. So as you can see, it's very easy to set up a menu outside of Canvas. Red, black. Okay? Red, purple, black. So it changes the square. And the other thing that we can do is we can actually say on this is to start or pause our game. So when they click a menu item, oh God, my mouse is so annoying. When they click a menu item, we'll start the game again. But when they click the menu here for the first time, if we're showing it, then we're basically going to say clear interval refresh like we did before to pause the game. So when the menu's open, it pauses the game. Oh, and then let's just start it real quick down here. So I can stop it, start it, stop it, start it, stop it, press a color, it starts again, press a color, it starts again. So you can see that the menu was actually quite easy to do with HTML and everything there. And so what we could do if we wanted to is we could do div menu style equals background color green, color white, padding 10px, and then over here we could just make this a black color, make the text a little smaller, and the padding a little smaller as well. And now we have this here. Now that button doesn't look very nice, so we can just do border none. Border radius could be 5 pixels on that, and then the width will be our 720px. There we go. Oh, well, it's about the same. But I'm not going to mess around with the CSS. I just wanted to show you real quick that you could do that if you wanted to. Obviously, there's ways to perfect that, but you could have this exact menu button directly underneath it and outside of the game region. So I apologize for some of the little hiccups in the video. I'm not that sorry because I think it's important for you guys to see everything, especially how it's developed. But this is our Square demo game. It's just a little demo project I'm going to keep adding on to for different things. This was a longer video for sure, but in the future it will be a much lesser scope.